touch base with Juniour Khumalo, who's going to give us the highlights from his vantage point. Juniour, good morning to you once again. What stood out for you at this particular launch?
A very good morning to you, Trolly. There's a lot of things that stood out to us, mainly the discussions between the IEC and the President. We had the IEC's CEO, Mr. Mhlaba, revealing that they are in talks with the President and they are calling on the President to announce a date that is as close as possible to May next year for the national elections. We know that the time period, the window period as he called it, for the elections is between May and August of next year. So the IEC itself would prefer a date that is as close as possible to May, which is going to limit, I think, the campaign period for a lot of parties. There are a lot of party leaders that are here today representing their various political parties. We saw the DA's John Steenhuisen, the IFP's Velenkosini Hlavisa as well, who are also here. But another thing that also stood out was the call to younger people to register and vote. We know that there was a very strong case made by opposition parties leading up to the local government elections in 2021, where the electronic registration machines were giving a lot of people trouble during that time. It was during the COVID period, just after that COVID period, and the use of those machines was pointed out as by a lot of opposition parties as having given them trouble, and people were going to voting stations and not finding their names. Mr. Mhlaba spoke about how they have reviewed the workings of those machines, and they have assured a lot of South Africans that given next year's elections are very close to happening, they have worked on those machines and they expect that not a lot of problems would be pointed out by South Africans after the registration period. You've already announced that that voter registration period is from the 17th to the 18th of November. And those were some of the standout issues that the IEC spoke about, Mr. Mgambi.
Right, Juniour Khumalo talking to us there as we wrap things up at that IEC launch. Is the start of the countdown to the 2024 elections, which is likely going to be a very exciting time. And talking about exciting times, Ziniko Mhlaba, some political parties deciding that they're going to brand this as 2024 is our 1994. You are there to get political reaction. Perhaps let us in on why they decided to coin this theme. Well, at least some of the political parties.
Very interesting terminology used by some of those political parties, indeed, but I can tell you right now, as we spoke earlier on, that there will be some new entrants, some new parties will be contesting election for the very first time next year. One of those is Action SA. They had their first bite at contesting elections in 2021 at the local government elections. So how are they getting up for the national elections? Let's speak to the national chairperson of Action SA, Michael Bowman, to say thank you very much for taking time out to speak to us. Key, very, very important election coming up next year. As Action SA, do you think you have what it takes to get into that space, considering the other political parties we've seen in the past decades coming in but fading come the next season? So what's going to set you apart?
Well, I think firstly we must understand this election is so important. It's the first national election where South Africans will be asked to talk about the direction of their country since continuous load shedding and so many other challenges have reached their highest points in South Africa. But from an Action SA standpoint, this isn't our first election. We contested in 2021, only 6 municipalities out of 278, and despite that came 6th in the country. We are now contesting every one of the 9 provinces of South Africa, and we have amassed a large membership base and structures on the ground. We are confident that our offer is landing with the South African people and that we are going to provide a viable alternative to a failed political establishment that has caused most South Africans to stop voting.
So in terms of getting people out to go out and vote, we've seen that the IEC has been pushing that message. But what's your responsibility as political parties, and what do you think political parties can play in terms of that space, in terms of ensuring that you get constituencies to come out and vote?
Yeah, absolutely. So the IEC has a basic model and a framework that they have to get right, but ultimately it's the political parties that need to produce an offer and a message that compels people to come out. We have this dynamic in South Africa where we have 43% unemployment, some of the highest violent crime rates in the world, continuous load shedding, and yet we have this dynamic where people don't vote. And that can only be a problem where political parties are not connecting with the South African people. That's what has to change, and that's where Action SA see that we have a particular responsibility to provide hope and provide a positive campaign to so many people who are fed up of the finger pointing and the apportioning of blame that has become our political system.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's Michael Bowman, the Action SA chairperson, giving us a sense of what is it that they are getting up for. So that's the situation here. So political parties engaging with the members of the party, but also engaging amongst themselves. So it's going to be interesting as we speak to some more political parties. It's back to you for now.
All right, Ziniko Mhlaba, our reporter there, and we have been covering this from all angles. Very important to bring you every information, as voter education is going to be one of the key tenets of why this election is going to be one of those that is closely watched. So voter education, very key for you to make informed decisions. All right.